This episode of the Tougies podcast is dedicated to the lives and memories of Rodion Amirov and Bobby Baun. We join the rest of the hockey world in sending our condolences to the family and friends of those lost and to anyone feeling the magnitude of these tremendous losses. Rest in peace, gentlemen. Welcome, everybody, to another edition of the Tougies podcast. It is us, the guys, the fellas, your favorite hockey podcast that is not all that much about hockey, although today it certainly will be. I am joined by both fellas, Mr. Sim for the win and Endo Mills. Endo, how are you?
I'm doing pretty good, not gonna lie. Yeah, pretty good. Could talk about some news today. Some good, some, weird. And, yeah, it's officially NHL 24 time.
Season, I believe.
Yeah, season.
Nobody says the full word anymore.
Chellen Degenerates, let's go.
It is my year.
Time. Yeah. Everyone makes the same tweet. NHL 24 is my year. It is the beginning. I will put out a video and not just me talking about how the game's going to be good and then completely hate myself after. That's what it is. That's all it's all about. Content. Content.
Yeah. Sin, how are you?
I'm doing pretty good. Got over this cold / fucking headache I had for the past 2 days. So, yeah, I'm feeling good.
Good stuff. And, yeah, I'm doing pretty well myself. You know, we're going to talk about my my lovely trip out to Vancouver last week.
Vancouver.
The
slums.
Where I got to shill my ass off, and I'll continue to do so and never criticize the game. We'll talk about all of that, of course, and yeah, I mean, aside from that, it's been a fun time trying to readjust to being back in my own house. It's been fun though. Madden dropped, maybe my favorite time for franchise mode every year. Like, people despise Madden for what it isn't, for what it could be, especially, and I don't blame people for that. You look at most sports games and you think back 20 years ago, oh man, imagine what the game's going to look like in 20 years. And then in some examples, you have less features than, like Madden this year. Do you guys remember the mini games? Like the training camp mini games in the older Maddens?
Yeah.
Hollow Madden.
I remember I think it was Madden 06. Yeah, you could do the franchise mode, and then you could increase players overall wise, like in the offseason at training camp by doing drills and stuff. That was so cool. Oh, that's so cool. Yeah,
they re-added that and Superstar mode from that era, like their version of Be a Pro.
Oh my god, now I'm 100% getting this so I can play that on my channel. That'll be such a good segue into 24, because that was my favorite thing.
Yeah, and
having Terrell Davis leave me voicemails.
That's the thing though, right? Is the idea of oh cool, you're adding stuff back, yay, and every game gets criticized for that, and they're right to get criticized for it, but at the same time it is really nice to have those features back.
Yeah,
it's one of those things where it's all right, yeah, deserved critique, but at the same time I can be happy that it's oh good, you added shit back that shouldn't have been taken out.
As long as I don't have to spend 1 hour trying to find the perfect parent so my guy is good.
My dad is a rocket scientist who ran track, and my mom is a physicist who was a power lifter.
Yes, finally I can make my running back.
Yeah, so I've played a little bit of it because I have it on PC, and it runs pretty well. It actually runs surprisingly well on PC. My computer is kind of a beast, humble brag, but it's good. There's nothing too intricate about it. I think it's kind of a mesh of the best features of doing the combine and the mix of the modern stuff as well too. So far so good. I picked a halfback, so I'm just running wide receiver and as well running running back as well too. So it's fun.
Halfback is the best position.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a lot of fun. They worked in those mini games too into franchise mode. You get to go through the training camp mini games at the start of the year. The better you do, the more rewards you can earn. Especially if you use it for prospects, you can find out what their dev pattern is a little bit faster. Potentially get skill points. It's it's really well implemented stuff that, again, never should have been taken out of the game, but I can be happy that it's there now. So far, so good for me with Madden 24. But we have a different 24 to talk about today. And it's not me, although I guess it is kind of me. As Endo alluded towards, we're going to be talking about NHL 24. By the time you were listening to this podcast, all the news is out about the feature set and everything that is going to be there in regards to the game. So we are very excited to talk about that. But before that, we have our viewer questions to get to. And of course, as always, we need to mention that this podcast is brought to you by our lovely friends at manscaped.com. I want to remind you that you can get 20% off your order and free shipping. Still, it's an insane offer. It's been here for 2 years now. When you use the code Tougie, that's Tougie at checkout. Again, manscaped.com, the best you can get, the pinnacle, the peak when it comes to the world of grooming. And, you know, again, you see Manscaped, you think men's grooming, we've talked about it. It's universal, baby. You can use this. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Manscaped's got you covered regardless. Regardless. They dropped the, I haven't gotten to use this yet. They have the Handyman, which is like a pocket-sized face trimmer. I need to get me one of these. I need one of these badly. But again, Manscaped, constantly innovating, constantly taking the world of grooming to the next level. And again, all you got to do, use code Tougie, Tougie. With that, gentlemen, let's get to some viewer questions here. We have some doozies this time. I'm just going to prep you for that, but we're going to go for it because why not? We don't take ourselves too seriously. The first question from Scroopy Noopers. If a second Mount Rushmore were to be made, what 4 American presidents would you add? They'd have to be a president who served in office after Teddy Roosevelt.
It would just be 4 Trumps over top of each other. That's what I would put, just 4 Trumps.
They get increasingly more orange.
No. It's like the Apprentice Trump, like running for office Trump, and then like in office orange Trump, and then like all in orange behind bars Trump, because that's coming up soon.
There you go. That's not bad. Oh God.
He really likes orange, doesn't he?
Does. Yeah. So I would throw out Herbert Hoover, inventor of the vacuum.
And Hoovervilles.
God.
Obama, inventor of Barack.
I mean, Obama has to be. He's got to be on the Rushmore.
Can it smell?
I'm on the
what Barack is cooking.
Michelle, I'm on the wall. Look at me.
I'm up here on the mountains because security.
They called me out of granite. What?
I can't reach your emails from up here.
Well, let me be clear.
Oh my
Leans on the screen.
I lean back like Fat Joe. Oh my God.
Third presidency would be like a third Hangover movie.
Now, might I also throw out W, but specifically W dodging the shoe? I want there to be a shoe like statue in the foreground so that when you're standing looking up at the mountains, there is a shoe flying towards his face.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
And then get his dad with the baseball just holding.
Just HW, just baseball.
And then you press a button on like the viewing point and it plays Smashing Pumpkins.
If I'm going with like serious picks, it's got to be FDR, Kennedy, obviously. I think Obama has to be up there.
Mm-hmm.
Damn, the last one's kind of hard.
I mean,
why not Big Bill?
Just Big Bill with a cigar in his mouth.
Yeah, there you go. I'm Big Bill.
Oh, perfect. I was gonna throw out Richard Nixon, but it has to be his Futurama head. It can't just be
Nixon. Oh my god.
Oh God.
How about Reagan, just to remind us of when we all got fucked over?
Yeah, and he gets the full body, and they make it so that he's essentially pissing down on your head.
Yeah.
As you visit the monuments.
There you go. Yeah.
Yeah. How's this
It's
for
a real
trickle down
baby?
Yeah. God. And then there's just Jimmy Carter building a house. Because he's a good man.
Yo, Jimmy Carter, what the hell was up with that? He came, was like, yo, I'm dying. And he doesn't die, and he's just refusing to elaborate.
I know. Like, so no joke.
Yo, I'm dying.
A couple of months ago, like at the start of this year, it was like, yep, Jimmy Carter's probably going to die soon. It's like, oh. Like, he's been in hospice since February. In May, like, I was in the car with a bunch of people. We were coming back from a concert that my fiance played in, and there were people where it's like somehow he came up, and I'm like, yeah, he died, and people are like, no, he didn't. And I'm like, how the fuck has he been in hospice for 3 months? It's been fucking 6. This guy's refusing to go down. I have never heard of a 98-year-old being in hospice for 6 months and still not passing away. Fucking A, Jimmy Carter. What a guy. What a man. What a fighter. And then there's
Fighting crime with a partner, Lois Lane, Jimmy Carter.
I never thought we'd get an IEA-IAO reference from System of a Down, but Endo Mills, I love you. Unfortunately, Chellen Degenerates is still probably the episode title. But
when you said fighting back, I'm like, fighting crime.
I hope these answers have sufficed, Scroopy. You're welcome. From Ender, what is your favorite accent?
The French accent aigu, which is like the little hat on top of the E. That's actually supposed to be on the first letter of my first name. What? Oh fuck!
No, that's fine. That's your answer. That's your fucking answer right there. You don't get to say anything else. That's perfect. I would have went with umlaut though.
That's
oh
true.
my god, my favorite accent. Oh man, it's now tied. It used to be Kiwi accent on its own, but now it's Kiwi and Finnish.
Yeah,
because goddamn, the Finnish accent is just magical.
So jumping ahead,
it's beautiful and also funny as fuck sometimes.
One of my favorite aspects of this trip to Vancouver is that for the 3rd time this year, I got to see Eki. For those who do not know, former gaming world champion. And yeah, incredible guy. Super nice. And Kenu, who is the leader at the helm of Sports Gamer. And I got to see these two in person speak Finnish to one another. And everyone around them who's not used to it. It's like, what the fuck did they say? like, because we got hands-on time with the most recent build of the game, and those two were playing versus. So Kenu's on one side of the room, Eki's on the other, and they're just
talking
yelling
mad shit. Sweet and Finnish, excuse me. Oh man, just go.
It's amazing.
That's so cool.
Oh my god,
Kenu's a blast to play versus against. By the way, me and him played like. Well, I mean, your last time you had a very bad experience with versus, but I was really enjoying it. I was starting to actually get kind of decent, and I liked playing Kenu because it was a big ass challenge.
He and I know how to rile one another up when it's not going well. I will say, skipping ahead, he and I got to do a best of 7 series in bubble hockey. You know, with the big domed table, and every time you went to play it. It would play the Canadian national anthem in full. So we're just standing there, hands over hearts.
Oh, that's amazing.
I beat him in 6. I had a 2-0 lead, blew it, but then beat him in 6 games. So
there you go.
That's right. God, my favorite accent. Give me the give me the Boston accent. R's don't exist. It's AH.
Do you know John Lennon? Yeah, sure. He's a president before Lincoln.
I can't beat Endo's answer. That was incredible.
No, that was beautiful.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
But like, if we're talking about like vocally, I don't know. I've gotten used to the Russian accent in a while because Polina like speaks Russian and all that, so like it just rolls off of it. That in French, but like beautiful French, not like Acadian where you don't know what the fuck they're saying. It's like not
Quebecois French.
It's like what do you? There's 3 type of Frenches. There's like France French, there's Acadian French, and then there's XQC French, which is just like his English plus his French, being like name 5 books. Like one.
I was on a fucking LG team with 2 guys I would play on their line. Sometimes they were forwards. All they would do is talk French to each other. I'm just like, that's great for fucking communication, assholes. And you can totally tell they're talking shit about people when like they didn't do what they wanted them to do. I'm like, say what you want. Whatever.
From favorite accent to favorite pasta. This comes from Young Burrito. Favorite pasta. Let me get his jersey. David Pasternak is in fact my answer. There you go. That's how seriously I'm taking this. Any pasta's a good pasta.
That's
how
very
dare
true.
you?
You can do them all the same. Like you just put. It's all about the sauces. If you're asking what, like you said, pasta, so you're not saying what's your favorite like pasta dish. So favorite pasta. I'd think I'd have to go with angel hair, dude. That's honest. Yeah. I love angel hair. I forget the actual name for it. Fuck.
Whatever. Don't worry about it. My serious answer is you cannot beat a good chicken parm with an egg noodle side.
Ooh,
oh, hell yeah.
If you haven't tried chicken parm with egg noodle,
I used to get chicken parm with like a side of a bow tie pasta with marinara. Like that's so I don't know, bow tie pasta is really good.
There's something to the shapes. There really is.
Rigatoni is also like low key really good because it's like thick as fuck, boy.
Well, it depends on the mood that you're in. Are you in for a pasta that can absorb more of the sauce? Like, what are you looking for here? You can't beat spaghetti and meatballs either. You just can't. It's a classic. It's a staple. But there is something to the shape of the pasta. As a kid, now granted, pasta, but mac and cheese.
Mm-hmm.
It is a pasta, but it is. There was something where it's like I only preferred the mac and cheese that were in the shape of cartoon characters because it absorbed the cheese sauce differently than a different type of pasta.
That's fair.
There are levels to this shit. My only response.
This man's ADHD brain just on pasta, nothing else, specifically mac and cheese. I love it though. The science behind it.
Yeah. And
love it.
Favorite pasta.
I think we answered this but like a while before.
Oh, for sure.
And I think I like a good penne. A good penne. Nice and simple. Way to do it. Put some tomato sauce on there with a little vodka sauce on there too. Perfect. Chef's kiss.
There you go. From AJ, rank each sport by how well Jesus would do as an athlete.
Swimming. You just sprint across, bitch.
Just fucking go.
I didn't even think of that.
Jesus wins another gold.
Poor Michael Phelps. Those records would get obliterated.
God, hockey, he'd be the fastest skater than McDavid. Jesus Christ.
Oh, God. He'd be a good hockey player. He would be. he wouldn't be very good at volleyball.
He'd be the best enforcer. Love thy neighbor.
He also wouldn't be very good at handball.
Yeah.
But because
I get it.
Yeah, thank you.
That took me a second. Oh man.
Hockey. He'd be good at hockey. Baseball? How good would he be at baseball?
I mean,
God.
I
I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't know either. I'm trying to think of how to turn this into a joke, but I can't.
I'm still going with my swimming.
I mean, that would be his best. It would be.
Or water polo. Because you can fucking tread up there and run across and fucking just be hopping over fools. And then. Because I'm sure they come up with a rule for swimming. Like, oh, you have to actually swim. So water polo.
Power of Christ.
You could just hop up.
Jeez.
We're moving on. Sin nailed it.
He'd be a good skateboarder, though. Christ Air.
Bravo.
Yeah,
Bravo.
come on. It was right there.
It was. And our final question comes from Bouncy. Which NHL player, current or former, would be the most ideal lover for you personally? Not Jamie Benn. Talking just romantically, the internet does not need to know what y'all are into down under. Save that for the conspiracy theories.
Or book talk, either one.
Or book talk. Endo, would you like to go first?
I don't know. I don't really pay that much attention to fucking hockey players that intently, So I don't know, maybe just I don't know, Joseph Wall can play the piano, so
just charm you a little bit.
Yeah. I'm a sentimental man, believe it or not.
It's fair. Sin?
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I feel like I can't even answer about half the league because it's predatory. I'm 33, dude.
God.
Doesn't Matt Duchene play the guitar?
Dude, I don't know.
That's
such a weird question.
It is. It is. I have an answer, and it's a name that I've never heard of before. Steve Wojcicki, who turned 100 years old on Christmas Day. Because I'm going to go full Anna Nicole Smith and Gold Digger. This guy ain't going to be around too much longer. He's probably too old to have anything really happen at this stage. So yeah, Steve, you and me, buddy. Let's hang out for about a month and see where we are after that. Morbid, maybe.
Yeah, he actually said current or former, so I'm good.
Yeah. Or I could hang out with Tim Thomas in the bomb.
I'll go Patrice Bergeron because he seems like a genuinely nice and sensitive dude. So there we go.
Yeah, that's a fair one. That's yeah. What a question, Bouncy, and thank you everybody for the questions you sent in. We appreciate it. Let's talk some NHL 24 here, though, gentlemen. Quickly, because I knew a lot of people were going to ask this whole Vancouver trip, just to kind of give a summary of it. A lot of people are like, so what does this entail? What even happened? So to answer the basic question, yes. Did they pay for flights? Did they pay for hotels for people? Yes, they did. Did we get to visit the EA studios and get a tour of the facilities, which in fairness, I got 4 years ago. The place hasn't really changed. Yes, we did.
One quick question.
Go ahead.
One more question. Why the fuck is there a soccer field with no soccer nets?
They were doing a lot of landscaping work outside.
Okay, fair enough.
This time out, so outside the building, they have tennis courts, volleyball, sand surfaces for volleyball. They have a fucking gym in this place.
Yeah,
they have anything you could possibly fucking want there. It's fucking Disneyland in a lot of ways.
Disney World Land.
Disney World Land. But yeah, at the end of the day, like, you know, do they fly people out? Do they wine and dine us? Sure, I guess. But at the same time, this was for most people about the opportunity to get face-to-face time with these developers and to have constructive conversations. And that is what this was. There were 2 days to this particular event. The first day was what people saw online as Community Day, which was, you know, the game changers that were there. But at the same time, there was a lot of press and there were a lot of influencers, especially people that don't just do stuff related to NHL 24, that do stuff related to real hockey. So like Pavel Barber was there, Zach Bell, the Bar Down guys were there, and they were only there for that first day. You know, it really was that idea.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, there were a lot of... Dude, there was... I forget who it was. There's apparently this guy. Like, I don't mean it to be like, I don't know who he is, but to show just how big the hockey sphere is. Like, there was a guy there who does hockey stuff that has like 1 million followers on TikTok, and I've never heard of him. So just to show like how wide the net was cast in terms of people that were there on that first day. But really, in terms of like, oh, why people like myself, No Sleeves, and company were there, it was for that second day where there was a 2.5-hour meeting of like, they have this little, I almost want to call it like an auditorium, essentially, where we were there for 2.5 hours talking directly with these devs back and forth. And I assure you, there is no pulling of punches when it comes to the questions that are asked, the thoughts that are shared about the game. You know, I'll shout out Eki in particular, especially when it comes to certain things like, will broken sticks and broken glass be a part of the online game? Like, if there's something that was brought up that people did not like the answer to, the devs knew, okay, they don't like the answer to that because it wasn't a, oh, okay, I'll just, no, thank you for the answer. Like, that's not what it was. You know, I mean, again, inherently, some people will think by default, like, oh, okay, you're brought out here, you're not going to critique them as harshly. I can certainly speak for myself in that, no, like, there's not any punches pulled. And in regards to the new features that we're going to be talking about here in a second, there was plenty of feedback as to what needs to be changed before launch to ensure that things succeed. And to the devs' credit as well, there were a lot of moments, especially once we had hands-on time with the game. Again, I'll shout out people like Eki and Thrash, who got to show the devs like directly, like, hey, here is this glitch goal that's still in the game. And they are already working on patching those. Like, we have video proof that they share with us that, oh, hey, you know what was mentioned? Yeah, we found this. We're already working on fixing that. And it should be fixed by launch with a day one patch, stuff like that. Like, that is the point of the entire thing, is we are essentially a glorified feedback group where it is our job to not only share our thoughts on the game based on being in the frickin' 1% of people who play this game the most, but also the communities that we've built up to share the thoughts of people about, you know, the game in general, and of course specifically for me, franchise mode. Like, I had 3 hours of head-to-head conversation with the main guy behind franchise mode. And trust me, everything that I have seen people mention over the years of, man, this would be cool, that's all been mentioned. And the good news is most of it was already on the docket for what they want to add. The big thing that I get out of this, beyond, oh, a hotel room and getting to see some people for the first time in 4 years, or getting to meet some people for the very first time, which is great, is you get a better understanding of their process and just how, I want to say, restricted they are because of the schedule for yearly releases. Like, a lot of people are like, oh, okay, they're working on 24 right now. No, they're working on 25 right now as well, in terms of figuring out what's going to be added, what's going to be able to make the cut. For every single year, it is the idea of, okay, here's our large list of features, the big ones, the small. What the hell can we fit into this game in this time frame? That's what it always comes down to. And it gives you a better appreciation for kind of, you know, where they are and what they're capable of doing on a year-by-year basis. It doesn't change the fact that, you know, you see the letters EA and you're like, man, these people shouldn't be so hamstrung, but they are at the end of the day. And yeah, it doesn't make you feel any better if, you know, come December, you're bored with the game because you feel like not as much was added. But at the end of the day, I mean, again, that's what it is. And, you know, like I said, yes, I mean, you know, they did something stupid like that skills competition that a lot of people saw, which, by the way, again, I fucking crushed it. 95 in shooting and passing. Franchise mode guys got hands and thumbs and shooting skill. Let it be known. But yeah, I mean, again, it is a really fun experience. You're always going to have the people who are just like, you chills and you suck. I feel like most of that comes down to jealousy, to be honest. Like, it just is. Okay, don't get me wrong. Like, I'm thankful to be in that position, but at the same time, there was more than one person there who joked about how I've voiced my critiques in the past, to put it nicely. Again, there's no pulling of punches in this communication thread with these devs, from me or from anybody else. So that brings us to NHL 24 as a whole. You know, to sum up the whole Vancouver thing from my side, I had a great time. I mean, of course I did. I got to see a lot of people in person. It was great. But obviously, we're there for NHL 24. And, you know, heading into it, most people who were there already knew what was coming, aside from, like, oh, Cale Makar is on the cover, which is cool. I will say, like, the importance of covers aren't what they used to be. I do think the Cale Makar covers are awesome. Like, compared especially to, like, the PK Subban cover that we had a few years ago. Like, brutal. I like PK Subban, but it's like, all right, here's PK on a yellow background. Like, they did
NHL
well.
19 or 8?
19.
Yeah. But we can get into the features that are there, and there's no doubt the biggest one is what they're calling the exhaust engine at this stage, which is kind of a two-parter that wraps the game up, and really, it does change the way games play out. Offensively, there is the new sustained pressure system, which is the idea that the better you control the game in the offensive zone, there can be a 30-second timer that is activated where you get essentially, again, the word momentum is always out there. And in a sense, it's real at this point. It is the idea that the defense has to turtle up a little bit. The offense has that momentum going their way, and it's a matter of trying to survive. And they base this, they showed us clip examples. Like, they base this on what you see in real games.
Yeah.
You know, they used an example specifically from a Stars Leafs game from this past season.
Goalie was just flopping at the end of it, which is like, you get tired as fuck, boy. Like, this is what I'm so excited about, because I feel like this is going to give new life. Even though Be a Pro is not going to get too many new features at all, this will make me really want to play it. Just because it's like, before, it's like I'm scoring off the rush most of the time, because you have to use the speed and then score off the rush with, like, some kind of goal that goes in, you know, the high amount of the time. But with this, like, if you can actually get, you know, people to cycle in Ishol, it's going to be amazing. We could see a complete trashing of the current trap meta that's in there, which I think would be terrific for not only for, you know, the game itself, but, like, for exposure to it and for excitement. Like, there were times, like, in certain, you know, high level games where there's just, like, these lulls of, like, this trap game being played back and forth. And it's like, it's a chess match. It's like, yeah, it's kind of cool in some way, but it's really can't be very exciting to watch. And there's been times when Tougie and I were like, it's hard to keep up the excitement when the game just grinds to a halt like this. And I think this pressure system could add a hell of a lot more excitement. So people and teams should be more enticed to forecheck to put pressure on to not immediately drop back into trapping it, because you put yourself at a disadvantage. You allow them to get in the zone, they all of a sudden will start to exhaust you, exhaust your goalie. Your goalie will have a hard time making saves. You'll have a harder time making defensive plays. And I think, that's true. That's the sport of hockey. And I think steps to make the hockey simulation more like the sport of hockey could be huge if done correctly, and if people don't freak out and try to make EA change it back as soon as the game launches and they actually listen, which is the worst possible thing. Was it a couple years ago where everyone freaked out after the beta when the beta was actually kick-ass, and then they changed everything?
I feel confident that they're not going to change it. And again, for those that missed this, there's new leadership at the helm of this project. I mean, for as much as people are like, oh, Rammer, I got to meet him, by the way. He is very tall. For as much as people are
taller than you.
Oh yeah, dude, he's like 6'7", 6'8". He's fucking huge.
Oh, he's like King of Apes size.
Yeah. It's just people still blame him for a lot of things. It's like he's not the design lead. He's been
gone since like 2017 or something like some shit like that. He's been like VP for a long ass time.
People still blame Ben Ross, and Ben Ross is no longer the design lead for NHL. But again, people didn't know this up until the point that a couple of days ago they released that video with Mike and Chris, who are now the leaders on this. And the one thing I can say about them is they're number one, they're receptive to feedback. Like, I'll be flat out honest. The idea of the game changers, that idea was almost dead in the water during this transition period between leadership helms. They were the ones, these two in particular, that put the emphasis behind making sure that not only does that feedback continue, it's taken to the next level, which is why you're seeing them put themselves out there as like, hey, yeah, we are the one. They are trying to open up that communication, not just between the chosen ones, as people can throw out there, but, the community as a whole. Yeah. And I do believe they are very much going to stick to their guns, and they are going to see their vision through, because it is not worth it to them to, step back from their vision and have the game essentially be the same. Like, they do have, like I said, every department essentially has their visions for what they want to do. It's just what gets added in on a given year. But they have their vision for where they want this game to go. And whether or not that ends up being a positive or a negative, who's to say? But it is the idea of it's not going to be the same, which, thank God, is all I can say. Now, Sin, you mentioned the goalie fatigue as well. That is the other part of the exhaust engine. It is the idea that the longer the puck is in the offensive zone, the more you can get the goalie moving, the more shots that you're able to put on. It's going to wear down a goalie. It doesn't guarantee you a goal, this pressure system. But, once you get a goalie a bit more tired, he's going to be a little bit more slow to make animations. It's going to take him a little bit more time to make a proper read on a play. So it's that idea of, you hear a lot of pro players be like, you can't really snipe goalies. That's not going to be the case this year at all. It isn't. Like, it is that idea of like, okay, if you work at it, you can wear down a defense, you can wear down a goalie, and
you can score from anywhere, which is, exactly.
It shouldn't be the same goals all the time, which is, again, what people have been asking for, essentially, as opposed to like, all right, it's just who can work their way into this area and score the same goal. It's the same goal in a 4-3 game all 7 times. It's just who scores the most. That is what they're trying to avoid. And they have done a lot of work for goalies, like a ton. I mean, obviously every year it's like, oh, there's new animations and stuff like that. But like, truly, you will notice it, especially when goalies are tired. The desperation saves that they throw out there to try and make these stops, it is very, very noticeable. I'm excited for it. And, human goalies as well are very much affected by this. And their game plan is to, really, especially from the eShield standpoint, incentivize people to use human goalies over AI goalies as well, which is good. We'll talk about it here in a second, but they have completely, actually, we can talk about it now. Like, they've completely reworked the human goalie controls as well. So, like, by default,
you're tethered to.
Yes, if you let go of the thumbstick, it will center you back to the crease. You have the ability to still have freedom of movement within the crease. You can also hold left bumper or L1 to further come out and challenge a shot. The big thing that, again, they brought back is the idea of predicting where a shot's going to go. We kind of had that back in the day, like NHL 12, but it was left or right. This is, they call it the instinct system. This is all 5 zones, as lines up with goalie attributes. Glove high, glove low, stick high, stick low, 5-hole. You are able to predict where you think a shot's going to go, and obviously, the more accurate you are in your prediction, the better bonus you get. The less accurate you are, well, something that might not have gone in might go in because you guessed wrong.
And you don't have to use that either.
Correct.
Like
Correct. So
it's
honestly,
like a risk-reward thing. I think it's great.
Yeah, it adds a little bit more depth to it, and like the best goalies in the game are going to be the ones that can utilize that at the right time and make those extra saves that they might not have made otherwise. Like, it adds a skill gap to goaltenders, which is great. You know, some people, it'll take them a little bit to get used to the controls. I think there will be a lot of complaints with the controls, but I do think at the same time, it's a really solid change, because in a lot of ways, you know, I've seen a lot of goalies that, in competitive play, especially, like, you end up just trying to do something simple, like recenter yourself to the crease, and it can be very difficult to do. You can overslide this way. Again, it'll be a matter of almost muscle memory of like, okay, let go of the thumbstick, go butterfly, recenter to the crease. It'll give you a chance to make some extra saves that you might not have made otherwise. But again, if you mistime it, it's that idea of you're going to pull yourself out of position. So it's something new. You know, not only do the skaters in the game have something new to get used to, the goalies have something new to get used to as well, which I really, really like. And again, you have guys that play goalie consistently that are in there giving their feedback on this system. You know, the tweaks are still being made leading up to launch, but I can speak to it for where it is right now. I really, really enjoy that system, and I think it's going to be a really nice change for goalies as well. But there were other aspects to it aside from the exhaust engine, which, again, the momentum system, the goalie fatigue. They have changed checking in the game, especially. I mean, the idea now is it is more physics-based. This is something that I've been begging for a very, very long time. So in terms of the game, the right stick now actually sort of acts like an analog feature. Like before in checking, like with NHL 23, it was static. Yeah, you just hold it. Now, and again, this is something that I got to shout out a buddy of mine, Dave, that you guys have played club with before. He has been banging the drum of this idea for years, so I have been throwing it out there as well. In terms of checking in the game, you can flick the right stick to bump, but you can also now essentially charge up a hit on the right stick to really commit and go for a fucking Truba style hit and just lay somebody the fuck out. If you deliver, they get floored, man. And there are times where I've played against the AI, and they are well aware of this new system, and they will fucking obliterate you. At the same time, if they miss, man, you're out of the play. Like, it is, again, another risk-reward aspect to it of if you go for that type of hit and you miss, you are well out of the play. But it is so satisfying to essentially land that Cronwall-style check. There is also essentially a third.
Is it direction? It's directional too, like or no? Oh, yes. So it is directional. Okay.
Yeah.
There's also a button, the B button now, or circle on PlayStation is going to be used to shoulder check. So it's just kind of like your basic kind of in between checking option. So you have the bump option, you have a shoulder check option, and you have the Cronwall option in terms of body checking. And the hip check is back. They have moved the hip check to the X button or square, and holy shit, like this is prime 360 PS3 at its best. Hip checking, you can absolutely floor somebody, and they show it in the trailer as well. There are people getting flipped ass over tea kettle it's beautiful. And again, the AI are very well aware of it too. At the same time, if it sounds overpowered, they have made reverse checking more prominent. Reverse checking has been in the game, but for the most part, you have needed the back at you perk to really kind of utilize it. So you'd never really see it in Ishil unless someone was running Enforcer. Now it is, at least at the moment, there has been talks of maybe changing it in terms of how it's mapped. But at least now at the moment, it's the idea of what was fake shot. You know, clicking in R3 is now reverse check. Fake shot for the moment's been moved to left bumper in R3, which can catch a few people off guard. There's been talks about flipping that. But the idea is now everybody can reverse check, but then it comes down to height and weight, attributes, stuff like that for how successful it's going to be. So in my experience, you know, if you are Cole Caulfield and you try to reverse check Ryan Reeves, you're probably still going to end up on your ass.
Yeah.
But it is a very, very powerful weapon if you use it properly, which is nice. I mean, again, it's been in the game, but it hasn't been something that's been universally useful, essentially.
Yeah, and it was different how to activate it. It's like you had to, like, let go of the left stick, and then as someone was coming at you, yeah. So I remember you used to exploit that when we were playing in a league together. Is you would put on a big ass build with truculence and the guy switched his build to a back at you power forward. You charge at him and he'd stop skating, expecting you to hit him, and you just poke it off of him.
Yes,
it was beautiful.
Yeah, I know that firsthand. Fuck you, by the way. Fuck you. I had to play offense against you, and you just poked me the entire time. And so my buddies were like, no, fuck it. I'm going to go left wing next game. I don't give a shit. You get to deal with his problems.
Yeah. So, crossplay is in as well, like in full, you know, which again, they've talked about already.
Yeah.
You know,
and like there's a whole community in the game. Like you don't have to rely on Xbox system or anything. Like there's...
Right.
Yes, EA Social, the only thing that was holding back crossplay beforehand until Terrio found out that workaround, which was really funny, by the way, because they left in, if you don't know, they left in one of the add invite club or join club features in the World of Chell's threes eliminator menu, like leaderboard screen. So you can join any club on that leaderboard. You just go there, select join club. If it's a club on the opposite ecosystem, you'll get an error that says you lost connection. You load back in the World of Chell, and bam, you're on the PlayStation club, and you can play PlayStation players. Which is crazy.
So yeah, obviously crossplay is huge, just for the fact that you know, come March you shouldn't be struggling to find games all the time. Like it's just, you're constantly going to have that bigger pool of players regardless of what mode you're playing online to be able to find. So,
and have we brought up the new optional matchmaking type thing?
We have not.
Yeah, like where you can say that you can, like, it's like the free agency thing, even for clubs though. So if you want to test out a left winger or a goaltender or something like that, you will be able to, like, in clubs. So it'll be easier to play club games as well.
Yeah. So essentially, I believe the idea behind that is, like, if you're playing, you have 3 people on, but you want to try to get a full club on your club, you can pull in players from the drop-in system to end up being on your club. Which
if you choose to,
If you choose to. Again, it is optional, which, again, you know, the big rework for World of Chell this year is the idea of essentially bringing it to the fucking 21st century. Like, it is that idea of, like, okay, like, the mode, you need the crossplay aspect, you need the kind of community aspect of it, and being able to just get people a little bit more engaged and make things easier. And they have finally done that, which is very nice as well. Also, in terms of controls, and again, we can talk more about the World of Chell stuff in a second. There were 2 other things with the controls. Skill moves have been reworked a little bit. The old way still works, but now when you have the puck offensively, the face buttons can correlate, at least at the moment, and I'll explain why in a minute. The face buttons can correlate to a certain skill move. So, example, at least at the moment, and again, it's still very much being discussed as to whether or not
you can remap it. Like, I would love an ability to remap it.
That's one conversation, is the idea of being able to remap it. The other one is the idea that the Michigan is tied to the Y button or triangle on PlayStation. And they're well aware it's a bit too effective right now. Like, their idea is, like, yes, you want a skill gap, but at the same time, like, there is the skill in terms of being able to use it properly.
I think only certain moves should be able to be mapped onto that, man.
Yes. So that is something, like, they have assured us they are still testing and working on, so I'm not going to sit here and tell people, all right, freak out because the Michigan's on the Y button, and it's going to be overpowered as shit, and there's going to be 7 Michigan goals a game. Odds are, by the time it comes out, probably not. I don't hate the idea in theory of let's, give an option that skill moves are a little bit more usable, because at the end of the day, the better players are still going to succeed more at them. Although it can be a little bit jarring when they changed puck protect as well. So you have to hold left to right with the stick and then click in L3 to puck protect. Because again, if you try to use the A button, it will do, I believe, the one-handed tuck. So, there are some controller redesigns that can take a little bit.
Wait, you have to click in on L3,
but
so
again,
there's no more
I think
hustle.
it's one of those things where it's like people just need to be a little bit patient and be willing to try something different. The old control scheme is still there as well for people that don't end up liking it. So it's not as if they screwed people over. Let's switch over to World of Chell. Now, we talked about it a little bit, like, the online stuff like that. We talked about the crossplay mixed clubs are in, as we mentioned. Another thing that was added in, though, finally, the Battle Pass.
Yeah, Battle Pass. Take your money. This should have been it for a long-ass fucking time ago. Battle Pass.
So, yeah, the bag system is gone. Thank God. And essentially, the idea behind the Battle Pass is this. You do have the free and the premium tier. It's all cosmetic stuff. But the idea was to ditch the Battle Pass and to allow people to get the shit that they actually wanted pretty much whenever they wanted, is the main idea behind it. At the same time, they also have what they're calling player classes. Now, it's not like, oh, you can unlock the Dangler or something, like it's locked behind that. It is the idea of these classes that have, like, vanity skins with them, that if you use them, the attributes are kind of locked to that specific class, for example.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, that was one of the things where I'm like, but at the same time, I have seen some of the new type of, like, vanity skins that they're adding in and stuff like that. It's going to be a little bit crazy. I don't know how many people you will see rocking an actual, like, typical Ishol character as we've seen. They're making it more fun in that way, which I'm excited for. Again, there's I'm not sure if I'm allowed to say which ones I've seen so far, so I'll hold off on that.
I know my favorite one.
yeah. There's going to be some fun with these for sure. I'm not sure if mascots will be included, but I also wouldn't be surprised to see mascots as a part of this to kind of show you the direction that they're going.
Please.
Yeah. At the same time, the creation zone has been changed, both online and off. Much faster, more streamlined. It doesn't take forever to get to something and change it. That was another aspect that they really wanted to do. So, like, the big thing this year, right? Because then you get to Ultimate Team, and it's like, okay, they brought back hut moments, which is nice. It's actually well done. It's not just like, oh, okay, this happened. Like, before everyone, they had James Sobalski kind of do voiceover stuff, and there's like video of the moment itself happening before you replay it. Like, they did put in some work to it, but for Ultimate Team, there's not a ton. There's not a ton for franchise. There's not a ton for Be a Pro. This was the year about getting the online side of things up to par, and at the same time making a couple of big gameplay changes as well. And presentation-wise, they had some different things, too. Like, you end up scoring a goal, like, your player's in the spotlight type of thing before the team celebration really kicks in. The crowd is legitimately the best it's ever sounded in a hockey game, which is great. And they have a new color commentator, Cheryl Pounder, who works for TSN. She is in the game now instead of Ray Ferraro, and honestly, I think she's fantastic as someone who, of course, cares about the commentary. I genuinely think she's done well. They have done a lot of stuff too with like the boards, trying to replicate like, okay, the NHL has used the advertisement boards in a unique way. They've done a lot of stuff with that as well. Like you'll see updated shots, time on attack, check, stuff like that will be listed out on the board whenever it's updated. So there's some interesting changes, but like I said, it's definitely a big year for the gameplay itself, and then especially the idea of trying to bring old World of Chell, E-Shell up to snuff. And honestly, I do think it'll go over well. They changed E-Shell playoffs as well. It's the idea now of trying to replicate an actual playoff format. I believe it is you get to essentially, I think it's 16 wins is what you have to get to kind of get to like that champion status. You're only allowed to lose 4 times, and if you lose, you're out, I believe was the format as it was described to me. So it is kind of similar to what we had like the 360 PS3 days of playoffs. Obviously with the idea though of they changed playoffs. So, you know, I mean, back in the day, NHL 13, if you didn't do the playoffs in like the first couple of days, you would sit forever to try to find matches to actually do the playoffs. That was kind of the negative aspect of that. Good times, good memories. But overall, I always use the word every single year with cautious optimism. I'm going to go with outright optimism this year. And, you know, maybe I'm getting the wool pulled over my eyes by, you know, these new guys that know how to talk people up and get people excited for the game. But I do genuinely think like this is a positive direction for this game to be going in, because it's not going down the same path, and going down the same path wasn't a winning formula in my opinion.
Yeah. And one thing I do want to bring up back on the topic of World of Chell is that you're talking about all the cosmetic stuff. You get to keep what you get from game to game now. You get to keep it. You don't have to regrind for the same gear every single year. So I don't have to look for my jersey tucks and my candy cane stick tape every single new game, which is fantastic. Like it shouldn't be. That's why the bag system was kind of dumb. Like, because you always had to just try to get all the stuff again, and that means there's just going to be more stuff like constantly. Yes. Another thing, like how they format it is all different too. So it's like hopefully it should be easier when you even get like more and more gear. It hopefully shouldn't be super hard to like find everything that you want. It shouldn't be overloaded with stuff like over the years, essentially.
Looks like
I think
Fortnite.
It's going to be a solid game. Yeah, kind of. I mean, again,
Looks
they are taking positive influences. Rocket League was a game that they threw out a lot too.
That's a great game.
They're taking positive influences from other games and saying, well, why the hell aren't we doing it that way? Especially if it's a more simplistic process.
Yeah.
And to make things easier for people. So, again, will it be a perfect game? No. Is it going to be the best NHL of all time? I don't know. Maybe, maybe not. But I do think, like I said, the way I can sum this up after, you know, everything that I've gotten to talk about with them over the past few months, the experience of being in Vancouver directly, I do think this is a very positive change. It is an upward trajectory for this franchise right now. And obviously, given those conversations I got to have, I'm privy to some information for what they have coming up for 25 and beyond. And I do think, like, if they can hit that target, this franchise is finally going to be where it should have been the past couple of years. Do we know for sure if they'll do that? No. At the same time, am I more optimistic because there's fresh voices in there? Yes. That is not to say that I think the previous voices in charge are bad people or that they necessarily had bad ideas, but they were there for a long time. And I think at a certain point, a change, a different spin, a different direction, a different vision can only be a good thing at a certain point. So NHL 24, everybody. I think it's going to be a good one. I do.
Yeah.
I do.
Feels like hockey.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of their go-to catchphrase, right? And honestly, like, it's one of those things too. It's like I feel that way despite not getting that many franchise mode changes this year. You know, like, in terms of franchise too, like, people are going to want to hear me talk about that. Like, they have made changes, but there isn't that big haymaker of like, oh my God, we're getting GM connected back, or oh, they took NBA's eras mode. Like, but there's a lot of the under the hood stuff that will make the mode better overall. It's not the sexiest stuff to say, but there are a lot of things that, you know, people like myself, Tactics, have mentioned where it's like, my God, can we please get this? I mean, a good example is going to be, hey, coaches are a little bit smarter with building their fucking teams now. You shouldn't be seeing Matt Zuccarello at an 87 overall on the fourth line. Coaches are aware of playing people in their proper fucking positions, which changes how they look to build their teams. It should be better in that regard off of what I've seen so far. So again, maybe not the sexiest improvements, but at the same time, like I said, I know what they're planning for franchise. I know what they're planning for Be a Pro, for Ultimate Team. Again, and I do truly believe this from what I've talked to from these people. Like, if it was up to them, every year would be this fucking home run of crazy feature changes. But that's just not the reality of the fucking job that they have, essentially. I will say, you know, I've seen other people mention it that were there too. I got to talk to, I mean, he's known on Twitter, so I'm not afraid to to mention him. But Nick Suchuk, who is behind a lot of the Ultimate Team stuff, used to work on NHL 2K. So I got to talk to him quite a bit about NHL 2K, his experiences of being there. He is someone where I am going to try like hell to get him on this podcast. But yeah, he used to be a part of that, and it's funny. He has seen us play NHL 2K10 on stream. He has sent along stuff like that to friends of his that he used to work with on the game. Wow! So we are appreciated for preaching the good word of the NHL 2K series.
That's awesome.
Oh God,
we gotta get him on the podcast.
Yeah. So
I hope to God it was the clip of Sin making the ever get finger blasted on the streets. Oh my God. Oh man.
God, it's beautiful. With that, just a couple other quick things that happened, you know, around the league over the past couple of days. You know, I saw this news when I was in Vancouver. Surprise, surprise, the Arizona Coyotes are trying to keep the team in Arizona. In case anyone was surprised by that, again, they're going to exhaust all options. Their owner, Alex Morello, executed a letter of intent to purchase a parcel of land in Mesa, Arizona. So again, keep an eye on that. It's weird, like a lot of the talks about, oh, them moving to Salt Lake City, like that's quieted down quite a bit. Again, they're not going to leave the state unless they absolutely have to, because it would be, one, an admission of failure, but two, it would be them losing a gigantic potential market that you don't want to lose.
It's huge. Like, what was it, sixth most populous area in the United States?
Something like that, yeah. So, I mean, again, there are some people who always be like, oh, but what about this city and that city? And it's like, again, we've talked about this. The NHL is going to want expansion to Quebec City. They want that freaking $600 million expansion fee. They don't want to relocate a team unless they absolutely have to.
Yeah, Quebec, you want a team pay.
There you go. Speaking of Quebec, the Montreal Canadiens, it was reported today that Paul Byron's expected to retire. He's had major injury troubles, so that's a bit of a shame. Very solid player. But they also made a trade today. They flipped Jeff Petrie. Now, he had 25% of his deal retained by the Penguins in the Erik Karlsson trade. Montreal is retaining another 50% and flipping him to the Detroit Red Wings for defenseman Gustav Lindstrom and a 4th-round pick in 2025. So Jeff
actually kind of surprised that they flipped him. I thought they were going to use him.
I thought so too, but at the same time, I mean, maybe they were doing him a favor of like, well, I don't want to play in Canada anymore. It's why I wanted to go to Pittsburgh. Like, you know, I thought he could have been a good veteran voice, but at the same time, they get Gustav Lindstrom, 24 years old, another young defenseman to see, okay, how well does he fit? And Detroit gets someone like Jeff Petrie, which honestly makes their defense that much better. I mean, he is 35, but right now, Cap Friendly has them slotted in, and this feels like such a franchise mode defense, by the way. Jake Wallman and Moritz Seider, Ben Sherratt, Jeff Petrie, the Montreal Legends, and Shane Gostisbehere with Justin Hall. It's not bad, but it is very franchise mode of like, here's just a bunch of dudes who happen to end up on the same team.
Who's playing with Mo Schneider? What the hell did I call him? Mo whatever.
Mo Shiesty.
I was going to say Schneider. I was like, that's not wrong.
Matthew Schneider. Jake Wallman.
Matthew Schneider.
Who the fuck is Jake Wallman? Why do I...
Blues fans everywhere are pissed. He hit the gritty in a game last year.
Oh, Jake Shiesty. Yeah.
Literally don't care.
So yeah, I don't know. It's a bit surprising to see Montreal flip him, but not at the same time. And for Detroit, I mean, they get another guy where it's like, okay, how will that work out? Carolina, by the way, speaking of teams relocating, they have a 20-year lease extension at PNC Arena. The Carolina Hurricanes are going nowhere, which is not a surprise given the success that they have had in the last 5 years or so. Yeah. They're also planning major renovations to their arena. They want to host a draft, an all-star game, all that fun stuff. So hockey's going well in Carolina. And then to end the show, I'm a sad boy. We knew it was coming, like the Patrice Bergeron retirement. David Krejci has officially retired as well after a very, very strong career. I knew it was coming. Like it's been rough, man. The past few years, Chara, Bergeron, Krejci, Rask, all gone from the Bruins. Tom Brady leaves the Patriots. It's been a time, but I was prepared for it. I know this team, a lot of people will still kind of pick them to be in the playoff hunt, and I do think that's possible, but at the same time, they don't have a pick until the 4th round for this upcoming draft next year. Again, their top centers are Charlie Coyle and Pavel Zacha. I look forward to talking about our preseason predictions in about a month or so, because I'm intrigued to see how optimistic people are about the Bruins compared to where I'm going to be. David Krejci, we hardly knew you. Gentlemen, with that, I hated to have to kind of rush through our last few talking points there, but again, we have a hard out time today, so we will look to wind things down. In the meantime, Endo Mills, what do you got going on between now and our next show?
Between now and our next show, I'm going to be hopefully waiting for my code for the technical test for NHL 24, because I want to get my hands on that and watch people either love, hate, or seethe on Twitter, because everyone breaks that NDA agreement. I am not the only one who does it as well. I remember, I think a few years ago, I tweeted out literally everything new in the game in terms of like the customization zone, and Clappy was liking my tweets, and I'm like, okay, Clap, are you going to tell me to stop, or should I just keep going at this point? Because like I'm already so far down deep. But yeah, besides that, nothing really going on. Trying to figure out what the fuck I'm living for the next year and a half or two. So that's mostly my concern. Yeah, that's me.
Sin, what's up? Uh-oh, might have lost him.
He's frozen again.
I think we lost our boy again. You can follow our boy at Sim for the Win Productions on the YouTube side of things. He has a new franchise mode that has begun recently that you can check out. He's about 5 episodes in at the time of recording. That's a Civ 5 series going, not a Civ 6. And of course, might be bringing some lovely Madden Superstar mode to his channel soon. And as for me, still a lot of NHL content going up on the main channel. Secondary channel, still a lot of MLB The Show, and of course Madden as well very, very soon here. And we'll be playing the hell out of that on stream for the next month or two, really. I mean, Madden's always the fun one. It kind of kicks off the start of the kind of sports gaming year for me. I guess you could say F1 does too now at this point. Sin, I already promoted everything you got going on, so I know you're a bit frustrated. We'll wind things down. We will see you all next week. We love you, and goodbye.